Let me ask you another question. Where's your altar? See, the altar that Gideon tore down was in their house. And let me say this, every house has an altar. I'll give you an example. Some years ago, when I was a little boy, I grew up in Seattle, Washington, right next to the airport. It was an international hub. So people would fly in from all the nations of the world, and then they would get off the plane, and they were legally entering the United States of America, but they're just getting started. So in the neighborhood I grew up in, literally, it was like the United Nations. All the nations, all the languages, all the religions, everybody was there. So I grew up with a lot of different kids as friends. One of my friends, he was Hindu. He was a kid who lived up the street. First Hindu kid I remember meeting, I was little, maybe 8, 9, 10. His name is Brat. And he's like, hey, you want to come to my house? I went to his house. I walk in the door, and they've got their chairs set up in the living room, and then on the mantle, they've got a little altar. It's a little shrine. It's got fruit around it, and money, and candles, and incense. And I remember looking at it, creeped me out. I'm a little kid. I'm like, what's that? He's like, that's our altar. I was like, what do you mean altar? He's like, well, that's where our God lives, in our house to bless us. So we give fruit and money and time to our God, and then our God blesses us. I said, that is really weird that your family sits around and looks at an altar. He's like, your family has an altar. I said, no, we don't. He said, you have a TV. He said, and your family sits and just looks at it. And he said, it's the center of your home. And you spend a lot of money for it, and you give a lot of time to it. Went home, I was like, we're pagans, Mom and Dad. I hate to break it to you. We're digital pagans. Right? We're going to worship a lot of gods. You know, like, yeah. And so let me ask you this. What's the center of your home? Is it the liquor cabinet? Is it technology? Is it the kids' sports? See, what's the center of your home that everything rotates around? And what do you make sacrifices for? Time and energy. That's your worship. That's your altar.
Howdy, Pastor Mark here. Thanks for viewing the clip. And if you'd like the entire sermon, we've got it ready to go.